before I start, the weapon over there is Lee Enfield 303, number 1, Mark III. So it's what was used in the First and Second World War. It was also used in the Korean War. So it's been around an awful long time. They stopped using it in 1970, started using it in 1907. So that's the background. And it is deactivated and cannot fire. And completely deactivated. The barrel's blocked, the breech has had a piece cut out of it, so it cannot possibly fire, so you don't need to worry about it. Okay, let's start off then. The problem with weapons is that they don't work when it's dirty. If you've got sand, no, it doesn't really like it. If you've got mud and water, it doesn't like it. Now, very simple solution to this, very simple. All of the troops were issued with condoms for sexually transmitted diseases, but they didn't use that most of the time because there were no access to ladies. So what they used to do with them is stick the condom over the end of the rifle to protect the inside of the barrel, and they also used them for medicine. You know, they're sterile, so they put them onto wounds, and finally they used them as water bottles. You know, so condoms were brilliant. You know, not being used for what they're supposed to be used. They did have a big problem with it, was gonorrhea and syphilis. So that's why they had them. So the management teams didn't have to worry too much about it. So back at the day, 1907, that was after the Boer War, before the First World War, and they realised that the weapon they were using was a Martini Henry. Now, Martini Henry was the rifle that was also used by General Custer in the Battle of the Bighorn Wars. General Custer had them. The problem he had was the Martini Henrys were bloody useless when it came to fighting close quarters, because brilliant at distance, but when you got close, the method was push the lever forward when it ejects the case, and you put the next one in, close it, and then you can fire. Well, what did the Indians have? Winchester repeating rifles. So they used to just go bang, 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 bang. So that's why the British Army realised, because they had the same problem, one shot at a time. So they went to Enfield, which is the manufacturing company, and there's a guy called Lee who came up with a design, and they built it to see what would happen. And it comprised of several suggestions. One of the big problems, if you're firing one round at a time, that's very, very dangerous, because people can just keep running at you and then drop down when you've managed to reload, and then get back up and charge again. So they wanted something that could fire more than one. Now, the Lee Enfield was designed to be a 10-shot. The magazine would hold 10. Not only that, imagine, you know, you see on the movies where they sort of pull it out and click another one in, and then open up the bolt. No, Enfield did it differently. What they did was have this magazine which you could take out. You didn't need to, it would be there. You had clips, and each of these rails had 5 bullets on it. So you just put it on top of the breech, push the bullets in, got another one, push the bullets in, you've got 10 more rounds. Or you only have to put one. Just put one in, which gives you 5 rounds. So if they're getting a bit close, you could just do that, have a 5-round one. The other things that they did with the gun was they had an internal system for cleaning the rods that you have to push down the barrel with your bit of wool on it and some oil. You could push it in. Well, you'd always lose that, but you know, how would you keep an eye on them? You push them up inside the butt. There's a little brass clip that opens up and you just push it in. So that was looking after the system. Now, this gun, anybody got any idea of how many they made? Well, they were made in the UK, they were made in Canada, and they were made in Australia, and they were made in India. 17 million of them were made, and they've got something. That one is 1942, so that's Second World War. It was made in India and used by the Indian Army. God knows how I got it, I don't remember, but anyway, I got it, and it was Indian. The weapons themselves, I think what we'll do, feel the weight of that. Now pass it on to John. Now, now remember, in all the movies, you see the soldiers carrying those with their kit as well. Yeah. Leaping about in fields and into trenches and stuff, and they're just incredibly heavy. 4 kilos basically. Oh, you fired it. Oh. No, sorry, I left the fire safety catch on. Don't worry about it. You have to push it hard to go in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
that's cool. Well, if you run out of bullets, you can always hit them.
Oh, yes, exactly. Well, no, you can just clip a bayonet on the front end and stab them.
Yeah.
But as you can see, it is incredibly heavy.
I take the word for it, it can't go off.
No, it can't. Even if the hammer's back and it goes off, it can't do anything.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple of other things. There's, on here, there's a. Right. When you're doing long distance, you have to push this thing up, and you look through to that one, and then when you're firing, the bullets are dropping, so you have to have the sights set up so that the bullet drops in the right place. That's that bit. Right. Now, the other thing is, people don't realise the strap. You can see we've got a strap. It's not for putting over your shoulder and carrying the gun. You can do, but it's not. What it's designed to do is you put your arm through. Oops. Oh dear, that moved. Hang on. Do it again. It doesn't help when I've got a paralysed arm, does it? It goes through there, around. No, I can't do it. I can't do it, but normally you'd wrap it around your arm and it would support the rifle so that you don't have to worry too much, because doing that, you're very hard to be in one place, it keeps moving, whereas when you've got the strap on, it doesn't do that. Right. Now, what weight do you think that soldiers were carrying apart from that in the Second World War? 30 kilos is what the normal, because you remember you've got water, you've got food, you've got ammunition, you've got your medical bits, so you've got a fair bit to carry. That was Second World War. What do you reckon about now? 50.
Whoa.
50. And if you're Special Forces, you're talking of up to 120.
Oof. But
Special Forces are really a special case, because they don't normally carry that. If they're going out on a job where they're going to have to spend a couple of weeks holed up doing reconnaissance, then they would take extra food, but they'd just drop out the ammunition. Ammunition weighs a ton. Most of the troops these days have 200 rounds. 200 rounds of ammo already in magazines. So it's a lot. And some of them carry a javelin missile, which again weighs an awful lot. And machine guns, they weigh an awful lot. You've got to carry them. So if you were in the military, that thing was very reliable and kept on. They selected the best of them to be sniper rifles. The SA-80, which we're currently using, the first of them were total crap. Big problem. Sound. just didn't like it. So Heckler and Koch, who make the MP5 amongst other machine guns that the SAS use occasionally, they were given the contract to fix it, and they did. And now the SA-80 is a very good weapon, very accurate, fires at a reasonable rate, and the troops like it now. But nobody did at the beginning, and I've been talking far too long. What else I can say? Uniforms. The uniforms were wool in the First and Second World War. Americans had cotton and looked nice and smart against our woolly ones, but they had a big problem in Europe. Cotton doesn't like the cold and wet, and our troops had these wool ones which, although they get soaked, it still kept them warm, so they were quite happy with their wool. And I'll stop there, and you can ask me questions.
How many bullets did it hold?
10.
10. And how did it, that's presumably the package of bullets underneath?
No, this is the magazine.
This magazine? Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if I can take it out and right. 10. Is that not breakable? Yeah, this has got a spring in it, and that just pushes the bullets out one at a time into your breech. So every time you pull the bolt back, this fires one into the breech, and as you push the bolt, it pushes it up and makes the hammer on the back end of it. This is the hammer. That's when it's going forward, the bolt shuts it down, and that, when the trigger's pulled, will hit the percussion cap and fire it off. Now, it's just so little. You just got a bolt. That's all you've got. And there's the breech just is quite simple again. Safety catch is brilliant. When the safety catch is on, you can't do anything. Right, that's got it. It won't let you do anything now. You can't even pull the bolt back. You can't pull the trigger. Nothing happens. Look, it's not pointing at you. No, so the safety catch is on. The safety catch is on. You can't do anything.
How is it then? Sorry, other questions, but the Winchester rifle. I mean, all the old films, John Wayne and all the rest of it. They're all throwing these rifles around as though they weighed two feathers, and they can fire so quickly. So why did the Winchester, with that repeating action underneath, you fire it and then?
Well, that's what the Indians managed to fire.
So that looked highly successful. I mean, it really looked as though it was a very effective way of rapid fire from a rifle. Why that and not the system of the Winchester?
Main problem was they weren't rifled. See, this has got a barrel which has a groove all the way down it, which spins the bullet, and that means the bullet can go further and straight rather than wandering around. The pistols and rifles that didn't have the rifling were not at all useful, except for close quarters.
So that's so interesting. It wasn't rifled.
Well, Winchester wasn't rifled, no.
Oh.
No. They did later, but the earlier ones, no. And that was always a problem with weapons. The Martini Henrys weren't rifled either. Again, later on they were. It took them a while to work out that if it's rifled, it's going to be better. But I'm not going to pay for it. It's expensive to rifle them, and to get a tool to go down inside the barrel. So no, they didn't want to pay for it, but in the end they had to because they needed it. And what else was there? I think any more questions?
So was that designed specifically for warfare?
Yeah. Although it is now modified for use as a hunting rifle. What they've done, 303 is no longer a standard issue bullet. And what they've done is the 7.62mm NATO standard. So they changed the barrel and the mechanism. So these can be modified to anything you want. And if you're going to go use hunting rifle, this would be altered to the 7.62. The other rifles can be up to 0.5 0.5 of a each actually, 0.5, 45 and 5. And then some of them get up to 50 millimetres. No, this isn't what's used in a recoilless rifle. You really would not want to have one with a recoil, because at 50 millimetre, it'd take your shoulder off. And I found that when I was using these, because I've got no flesh on my shoulder, that side, it used to hurt after about 2 or 3 shots, because this thing used to hit the bone, and really, so I didn't know any of the pistol shooting after that. And the 45. Right. Anything else you want to ask?
Well, just looking at that point, I mean, the end of the stock there doesn't look all that user friendly, does it? It's not nicely curved and
well, it is. It is, but you see that little clip?
Yeah.
You can't get it out. No, need at all. It's that's where the rods go in for cleaning it.
Oh,
so that's where they store them. They just undo that and pull them all out and then use them.
Yeah.
What I used to do in service when I joined, we had the 7.62 SLR.
Yeah.
And that was a real kick. But you would see when the guys would first go on the range, they'd get marks on their eyes because you have to hold it in snug, so your shoulder will go back. But if you don't, it will hit the shoulder and sometimes it will hit your face.
Yeah.
But it was a real kick. And if you're firing like 40 rounds one after the other, you feel it. And then the SA-80, which came in afterwards, not so much, but it was, in comparison, it was plasticky.
Yeah.
There was lots of plastic, and you had to cock it, cack-handed, the cocking arms over here.
If you were left-handed, it was a
very
problem.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't design it. This is okay, left or right.
Yeah.
Fairly straightforward. One of the things they did with this weapon was a thing called the Mad Minute. And the Mad Minute was for anybody who had a weapon, mostly these. You went on the range and the target was set at 300 yards, and you had 1 minute to fire as many rounds as you can at the target. And it would only be recognised if you hit the target every time. And there was a guy from Scotland who did it, and he managed to do 58 rounds in a minute.
Wow.
Just incredible speed.
Yeah.
But what he had, I think he had someone pushing clips in for him. But other than that, he was just firing them one after the other, actually hitting the target at 300 yards. Absolutely brilliant. So, any more? No?
No, superb.
Okay. Well, it's the information it was for.